You probably know the basic math operators used in programming. Today we will look at many other methods and how to use them in JavaScript. JavaScript includes built-in math object with constants and methods. To access them, you need to write the word math with the capital M letter followed by a dot. All elements that have the icon of a blue rectangle are constants. The most useful of them is the pi constant. The convention for constants is to be written with capital letters, and for example, we can use it to draw a circle. Then we have powers and logarithms. Luckily, we don't use them often in programming, and they work the same as in the math. I wrote Math.pow, and if I hover over this method, we see the description. The first thing that we see that it is a method. Methods are the same as functions, but they are attached to a specific group. For example, pow method is attached to the math object. It is really easy to recognize them because they have dot and the name of the function. So for example, console.log, if I hover over it, we see that this is a method. However, in the speaking, the word function and the word method is used interchangeably. Then in this description, I see the name of the method, Math.pow, and then I have two parameters, x and y. After each name, I see column and the type of this parameter. In this case, this is a number, and after this function, in the end, I also see column and the type of this method. This is the type of the return value of this method. Then I see a short description of the method and parameters, but actually it works absolutely as in the math. I need to pass two arguments. For example, I can pass 10 and 2. In this case, I expect the result of 100 because 10 in the power of 2 is 100. And one more example, I can pass 2 and 3 and I will see the result of 2 in the power of 3, which is 8. I also can type Math.log and you will see several logarithm functions. So for example, I can use log2. And if I hover over it, I see the description that it returns the base 2 logarithm of a number. So logarithms are the opposite of the exponent. For example, if 2 in the power of 3 gives 8, logarithm 8 with the base of 2 gives 3, and I see this result in the console. Now something new, because in the school's math we don't learn methods like min and max, but they are often used in programming. Math.min returns the smaller number from the list of the given numbers. If I hover over this method, I see that it is a method, and then I see that the parameter values is followed by 3 dots. It actually means that I can pass as many arguments as I want. So for example, if I don't pass any parameters, this function returns the infinity. If I pass a one number, this function returns the same number. If I pass several arguments, this function returns the smallest of them. Typically, we store multiple values in arrays, so let's try to pass an array. I've created the array 1, 2, 3. And I passed this array to Math.min. But in the console, we see none. This is because if we want to pass an array, the array's name must be followed by 3 dots. So I can add 3 dots. And now if I save this function, it works as expected and returns the smallest number from the array of numbers. I also have Math.max function. In the case, if we don't send any parameters, it returns minus infinity. If we pass only one number, it returns the same number. And if we pass multiple numbers, it returns the maximum of them. If we pass the array, we see the none. But what none means? None stands for not a number. Typically, JavaScript doesn't throw errors, but if you send a wrong argument, it can return none or undefined. If the function must return a number, it returns a none. And most of the cases, we see it when we have any errors in our code. So for example, in this case, we sent an array, but Math.max can take only numbers. And this is the reason why we use 3 dots to convert the array into numbers. The same error I will see if I send a string with a name. A is not a number, and this is what this method returns. Sometimes JavaScript can automatically transform it if I use a string of a number. it automatically converts it into a number. Then we have a group of different rounders. Math.ceil method rounds the number to the closest integer upwards. If I pass 5.5, the closest integer upwards is 6. The next method is math.round. It rounds the number using mathematical rules. So if the fractional part starts from the 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, it rounds the number upwards. And otherwise, if there are 4, 3, 2, 1 or 0, it rounds the number downwards. The next rounder is math.floor. It rounds the number down to the closest integer. In this case, the closest integer is 5. And the last rounder is math.trunc. It removes the integer, removing any fractional digits. It actually removes all numbers after the point. We can notice the difference between math.floor and math.trunc if we use negative numbers. If I pass minus 5.5, the closest integer downwards is minus 6. But math.trunc just removes any fractional part and we have minus 5 as a result. You also can memorize that ceil, the ceiling, is located in the upper part of the room, so it rounds the number up, and the floor is located in the bottom part of the room, so it rounds the number downwards. There are a few more useful functions. For example, we have already used the math.random method that generates a random number between 0 and 1. If you want to watch a full course about math.random, I have a video on this topic. The next function is ups that returns an absolute number. The easiest way how to understand what absolute number does, it just removes a negative sign if a number contains it. Otherwise, it just returns the initial value. We use math.ups method to convert our number to a positive one. Then we have math.sign. It returns 1 if an argument is a positive, it returns 0 if the argument is 0, and it returns minus 1 if the argument is negative. We also have one very important operator for programming, which is modulo operator. But we will cover it with practice and code challenges in the next video.